Hello everyone and welcome to the third chapter of this course. My name is Jelena Pucha from the Faculty of Maritime Studies, and on behalf of Professor Eli Marosic, I will present to you the topic Maritime and Coastal Tourism. This chapter is divided into 5 parts: the concept and types of maritime and coastal tourism, nautical sports, nautical tourism, maritime and coastal tourism, the industry value chain, demand patterns in coastal and maritime tourism, and the role of maritime and coastal tourism, and the basic facts. After studying this chapter, you will be able to recognize the difference between maritime tourism and coastal tourism, to describe nautical sports, nautical tourism, to understand the maritime and coastal tourism industry value chain, to compare demand patterns in maritime and coastal tourism, and present basic maritime and coastal tourism industry facts. To begin with, you should know what tourism actually is. Tourism in statistical context refers to the activity of visitors taking a trip to a destination outside their usual environment for less than a year. It can be for any main purpose, including business or leisure. So, what is actually the difference between maritime and coastal tourism? On the left side, we have the definition of maritime tourism. Maritime tourism says that covers tourism that is largely water-based rather than land-based, but includes the operation of landside facilities, manufacturing of equipment, and services necessary for this segment of tourism. Coastal tourism, on the other hand, covers beach-based recreation and tourism and non-beach related land-based tourism in the coastal area, as well as the supplies and manufacturing industries associated to these activities. In geographical terms, coastal areas are defined as those bordering the sea of having at least half of their territory within 10 kilometers of the coast. Coastal and maritime tourism sector can be also classified by location and subsectors. So we have coastal tourism and maritime tourism, and by subsector we have beach-based tourism and water-based. You can read here what's the difference between both. Depending on the subsector, maritime and coastal tourism is both a linear and area-based activity. In most cases, maritime activities take place along the coastline as well as between the shore and on-water tourism activity areas, while, for instance, diving, snorkeling, and underwater cultural heritage are actually place-based activities. Maritime and coastal tourism, nautical sports, nautical tourism. What is actually nautical tourism? It is a very profitable and expanding business, although still not evaluated enough. The main basins ranked by potential profitability are the Mediterranean, Atlantic, and Baltic seas. So, regarding marinas, they are very promising catalysts for coastal development. Its sector is encouraging private investments for coastal tourism development. Proper regulation and effective intervention of public institutions are also needed. That means better and less regulations. Marina types diverge depending on sea basins, countries, and types of location. And two main types of marina models are established location and location with no existing demand but great potential, where marinas are established and trigger local development. On the other hand, we have yachting that remains a popular activity for residents as well as visitors coming to several European countries. The industry has grown, and today many marinas exist on the European coastline. This provides supplies, easy access to the shore at major resorts and safe harbors, as well as often becoming local entertainment venues in themselves. Also, demand for professional marina services is growing, ushering in significant investment opportunities. Furthermore, due to the boost in demand, the yacht building industry has developed into an economic sector of importance. Europe is the market leader in the luxury yacht industry with a market share of more than 65% in 2008. Yacht builders in Europe are concentrated in France, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. Diving tourism can present great potential as divers travel regularly and generally have a high purchasing power. 800,000 European divers each year make one trip with 10 nights out spending more than 1.4 billion euros annually. In many destinations, diving has allowed extending the touristic season, like in Spain, where the 20,000 scuba divers represent 9.3% of the total tourists. As divers expect a variety of underwater landscapes, several European countries have taken advantage of their natural and cultural wealth by setting up underwater archaeological parks. Recreational fishing covers various segments. In most countries, recreational angling is the biggest of these segments, measuring in numbers of participants and or economic benefits and jobs. In Europe, there are some 8 to 10 million recreational sea anglers. The annual socio-economic value estimated at 8 to 10 billion euros. Tens of thousands of jobs depend on anglers' expenditure. Recreational angling is done for leisure and sport. In some countries, angling tourism is well developed and growing business segment, whilst others have unused potential. Surfing as a sport is closely related to the development of adventure tourism, and in Europe, the main destinations are Portugal, Spain, France, and England. So there are three impacts of maritime and coastal tourism, and those are direct, indirect, and induced impacts. These impacts and the structure of the tourism sector determine the sector's economic impact on a country. So, what's the direct impact is the actual expenditure by the tourists. So, we have accommodation, transport, restaurants, pubs, shops, leisure services, and others. And indirect or secondary impact is what happens as the money flows through economy. Tourism is one of the pillars of the economy of the coastal regions. But not all tourism can be categorized as coastal tourism, and many touristic and recreational activities are not sea related. So, coastal tourism and yachting include beach-based recreational tourism, non-beach related tourism in the coastal area, and nautical boating. Tourism demand, measured as the number of local and international tourist arrivals, shows a high degree of volatility due to its dependence on varying numerous environmental factors. And those are economic, financial, and political. As you can see in this picture, the value chain in the leisure tourism sub-function is comparatively simple. It's actually involving a wide variety of stakeholders, but also policy measures at various levels. It is a broad industry as it contains attractions and transport, travel organizers, and local tourist offices. Moreover, different groups, such as business travelers and leisure tourists, are targeted. In business, a stakeholder is any individual, group, or party that has an interest in an organization and the outcomes of its actions. Common examples of stakeholders include employers, community, customers, suppliers, competitors, industry actors, investors, and own shareholders. There are four types of maritime and coastal tourism: high and low value, and high and low volume. As you can see in this picture, we have high profile tourism, niche tourism, low profile tourism, and mass tourism. Mass tourism catering to high volumes and low average spending. High profile tourism offering a high level of quality and unique value. Niche tourism, it is all about differentiation. And low profile tourism, small numbers, little spending, and limited visibility. Maritime and coastal tourism and sustainability. So we have natural capital, social capital, and economic benefits, which means profit. Natural capital is actually any stock or flow of energy and material that produces goods and services. It includes resources, renewable and non-renewable, processes maybe such as climate regulations, things that absorb natural recycled waste. And natural capital is the basis not only of production, but of life actually itself. Regarding social capital, concerns the institutions that help us maintain and develop human capital in partnership with others, communities, businesses, voluntary organizations, and many others. And financial capital actually plays an important role in our economy. Uh, but unlike the other types, it has no real value itself, but is representative of natural human social capital, such as shares, bonds, or other. We believe that by maintaining and trying to increase stocks of these capital assets, we can live off the income without reducing the capital itself. But for this to happen, it is the responsibility of every organization, business or otherwise, to manage these capital assets sustainability. Due to its dispersion and fragmentation, tourism and similarly coastal tourism varies largely in terms of their environmental sustainability and the energy intensity of the adopted models. Some of the main sources of carbon emission related to tourism are presented in this picture. Coastal and maritime tourism has been actually highlighted as one of the sectors with a high potential for growth and jobs in the youth blue growth strategy. Coastal tourism is the largest sector in Europe's blue economy with around 2.127 million persons that are directly employed in 2016. Analysis of the maritime and coastal tourism sector requires that many dimensions are considered. The differentiation between highly visible and low visibility locations, need to consider the differentiation between sea basins, need to address economic and social impacts, and others. Coastal tourism consists of three main sectors: accommodation, transport, and other expenditures. And it's important to know that coastal tourism is accounted for 63% of the jobs, 44% of the gross value added, and 38% of the profits in the EU blue economy in 2019. Gross value added generated by the sector in the 2019 amounted to slightly more than 80 billion, a 21% rise compared to 2009. With close to 4.5 million people employed, a turnover of more than 665 billion euros and 184 billion euros in gross value added, the EU blue economy sectors contribute significantly to the EU's economy, especially in the coastal regions. Sustained growth has been instrumental in supporting the economic recovery of many EU member states, largely contributed to job creation, GDP, and the balance of payments. As part of the EU's Blue Growth Strategy, the coastal and maritime tourism sector has been identified as an area with special potential to foster a smart, sustainable, and inclusive Europe. While good for development, the increase in tourist numbers has brought its own challenges, and many destinations, in particular coastal areas and small islands, try to find sustainable ways to cope with the higher tourism intensity. Challenges to be faced include, among other aspects, demographic change, sustainability, and innovation. The estimated accommodation capacity allows understanding the coastal tourism importance for regions. Most regions have high shares of rooms located with the 10 kilometers range, an indication how coasts are actually the main tourism driver and visitors attraction. As you can see in this figure, when looking at absolute values, Italy is the European country with the most accommodation capacity in coastal areas with 960,000 rooms, followed by Spain, Greece, France, and Croatia. But from the coastal countries, the ones with the least, some are Estonia, Lithuania, Finland, Slovenia, and finally Latvia, with 8.5 thousand rooms. At the EU level, the majority of tourism expenditure is generated in the summer months and takes place in coastal regions. As you can see on these pictures, both nights spent and accommodation in coastal areas are mainly located in very high vulnerable regions. These values actually show how much coasts and islands are vulnerable to impacts in the tourism sector, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, especially when considering that tourism-related activities in coastal areas contribute to about 40% of total employment. In the European Commission, the transition pathway is actually a plan jointly created with the actors of the tourism ecosystem, detailing key actions, targets, and conditions to achieve the green and digital transition and long-term resilience of the sector. The transition pathway calls on the tourism community to implement measures in 27 areas, including to invest in circularity to reduce energy, waste, water, and pollution, to enhance data sharing practices, to allow for new innovative tourism services, and improve the sustainable management of destinations, and the list invest in skills to ensure the availability of qualified workforce and attractive careers in the ecosystem. Actually, the two most popular tourist destinations in the EU in the 2019 were the Canary Islands in Spain, followed by the Adriatic coastal region of Jadranska Hrvatska in Croatia. For exercise, you will have to explore the Demarin company and find some information relevant to the course topic. Here you have the link for the Demarin, and you should find information on how the Demarin company contributes to the sustainability of the maritime and coastal tourism sector, recognize the role in society, find out how it contributes to maritime and coastal local communities, identify its activities related to sustainability, and compare the positive and negative impacts of the marine but also AC Marinas business operations. To conclude, Europe is the most visited continent worldwide, welcoming half of the world's international tourist arrivals. And maritime and coastal tourism is the most significant, mature and growing sector across the blue economy in the terms of gross value added and employment. Coastal areas and islands tend to be major tourism hotspots. Coastal and maritime tourism bears large potential to promote a smart and sustainable and inclusive Europe. Here you have references and questions that can help you to determine your knowledge. Thank you for your attention.